Good morning, students. Today's class is infant deaths. This chapter is very important on behalf of your practical examination and also theory point of view. Many short note questions and essay question may come, and especially in practical examination, this chapter is very important. You are having fetal autopsy. Fetal autopsy main questions. All the questions will come from this chapter only. So this is very important chapter. You have to read this chapter very carefully. So infant death is defined as destruction of child under the age of 1 year is called as infanticide. In India, there is no such act, but in 1938 there is Infanticide Act of England. So the definition is according to the WHO. So unlawful destruction of child under the age of 1 year is the infanticide. The mother can be charged in this act of infanticide because of the mother ill health or stress or any other mental illness due to pregnancy-induced stress, pregnancy-induced mental disturbances, or pregnancy-induced any other complications or any other stress due to hysteria or some other disorders. Only mother will be charged with this offense. But the mother only not responsible if she is suffering with the above said reasons. This is in India, the act, the murder of adult or murder of child is same in India, but in UK the Infanticide Act is different. United Kingdom it is different. What is called here in this chapter we are come across some definitions. That is feticide. Feticide, that means killing of fetus at any time prior to birth is called feticide. And filicide. Filicide is killing of the infant by its parents is called filicide. And neonaticide. Neonaticide is what is up to what period neonate is called? You all know. I told you in the previous class what is womb, what is developing womb, and what is embryo, what is fetus. So neonate is up to the age of 28 days. 28 days. That means lunar month is the infant neonate. So neonaticide is killing of the deliberate killing of the infant under the age of 4 weeks is neonaticide. These are the definitions you should know, but it is very important chapter. All the Viva questions in your practical examination comes from the this chapter only in fetal autopsy. So these are the questions. Infanticide does not mean while you are doing the delivery with forceps, decapitation, or any other craniotomy did not comes under this infanticide act. So what are the motive of the infanticide? The mainly motive of the infanticide is mainly the unmarried women, illegal pregnancies and pregnancies by widows. In these motives, these two conditions, the persons or the parents commits infanticide. The infanticide, the death of the infants mainly occurs immediately after minutes after the birth of the fetus or few hours after the birth. So infanticide generally takes place immediately within few minutes of the birth of the child to hide the birth in a case of illegal pregnancies in unmarried women and widows. What are the in case of infanticide, I told you the mother is the alleged person and the parents or relatives should be the alleged persons in case of infanticide. What are the signs in case of alleged mother? You must see the recent signs of delivery in a case in the mother's side. But what are the signs whether the fetus is dead born, live born, or stillborn? On the fetal side, you should examine whether the child is dead born or live born, or the child attained viability or not, or what is the cause of death? If born alive, what is the time? How long the child or the fetus lived? All those 5 points should be noted. So whether the child is stillbirth, dead birth, live birth, viability attained or not, and the cause of death, and the what is the duration of life after birth. So what is stillbirth? Stillbirth is the stillborn child is one which is born after 28 weeks of pregnancy and it did not breathe or did not show any signs of life. That means the fetus lied in utero and died during the process of delivery. In Parchment canal, the fetus may die due to some reasons. That means natural reasons or natural diseases, some other complications like cephalopelvic disproportion, CPD, and contracted pelvis. All those are the signs of prolonged labor. What are the signs of prolonged labor? Are the signs of stillbirth. Signs of stillbirth are the same as signs of prolonged labor. So what are the signs of prolonged labor? Edema and hemorrhage into the scalp is one of the signs, and caput succedaneum is second sign, and what are the other signs? Natural causes like congenital abnormalities and other things are included in the signs of stillbirth. Severe molding of the head also one of the signs of the stillbirth. So these signs should be signs of prolonged labor, and these can be seen in a case of stillbirth. These are the signs of stillbirth. And what are the causes of stillbirth? Main causes of stillbirth are prematurity and anoxia of various types, and birth trauma, especially intracranial hemorrhage, and due to excessive molding, placental abnormalities, RH incompatibilities, toxemias of pregnancy, and all the other conditions like congenital defects are the causes of stillbirth. So stillbirth is the child one born after 28 weeks of pregnancy and which did not breathe or did not show any signs of life. So this is the stillbirth. Next is dead birth. What is dead birth? Dead born child is one which has died in utero. So dead born child is died in a case in utero. In vitro, the fetus died and shows the following signs. Number one is rigor mortis at delivery. The fetus which died in vitro shows these signs. One is rigor mortis at delivery, and number two is maceration. Maceration is the process of aseptic autolysis, and it is the usual change. If the dead child remains in the fetus for 2 to 3 days or 3 to 4 days, which fetus is surrounded by abundant liquor, which is surrounded by plenty of liquor amnion. This liquor amniotic fluid did not contain air. If air contains in the dead fetus, decomposition occurs instead of maceration. So what are the features of maceration? Changes within 12 hours, or earliest sign is reddening of the skin with peeling and slippage, which is seen in 12 hours. Reddening and peeling and slippage of the skin, and also air in the great vessels. That means the abdominal aorta, the air will be seen. This is known as Robert's sign in 12 hours. And the body of the macerated fetus is soft, flaccid, and flattens when placed on the flat surface. If you place the fetus on a flat surface, it flattens. It has a sweetish and disagreeable odor, and the surface is slightly blistered and desquamated and rarely jelly-like. The changes after 24 hours. After 24 hours, large blebs will appear, contains serocyanous fluid, and epidermis detaches easily, and the tissues reddish blue color due to hemolysis, and the abdomen is distended. After changes after 48 hours, the serous cavities contain turbid reddish fluid, and the bones are flexible and joints are abnormally mobile. The joints are abnormally mobile. and the respiratory parts are loose and lose their morphology, but the lungs and uterus remains unchanged for a long time. The umbilical cord is red, thick and smooth and soft. The skull bones are separated and brain has grayish red pulpy appearance. Collapse of the vertebral column is the commonest feature in maceration. These are the features. Maceration is a very, very important short notes question or ultra short notes question, 2 marks question in your theory examination. So you remember the maceration and their features, and what are the features I told you, you should remember. And it also asked in your practical examination. What is Spalding sign? Spalding sign is, this is the sign of dead bone child. Spalding sign is overriding and loss of alignment of the cranial bones due to shrinkage of the cerebral tissue after the death of the fetus. In the early stage, there is only loss of alignment without overriding. The sign will develop within earlier within the vertex presentation than with the breach. It may be detected within a few days of the death of the fetus. This is the Spalding sign. That mummification. Mummification is the death of the fetus due to deficient supply of the blood. If the fetus dead in utero due to deficient supply of blood, then mummification will occur. If the fetus dead in plenty of abundant amniotic fluid, then maceration is develops. This is the difference between mummification and if air enters into the amniotic fluid, instead of maceration, putrefaction develops. This change will be remembered by you, should be remembered. Viability of the child. What is the viability of the child? The viability means the physical ability of the fetus to lead separate existence after birth apart from its mother by virtue of certain degree of development. So normal viability is 210 days. That means 7 lunar months is the 8 lunar months or 7 lunar months is the viability of the infant. In some cases, even 180 days also, the fetus will be lead separate existence apart from the mother. The smallest baby ever to survive weight is 242 grams and measured 25 grams. But it is highly difficult to lead a separate life in 180 grams. 180 weeks, 180 days of intrauterine life. But you have to treat the baby in that case, you should treat the baby very vigorously by putting the baby on ventilator, and you should introduce the surfactant and so many measures you should treat, and then only the baby will survive. Live birth. These signs are for dead born child. What is live birth? That means live birth means the child shows signs of life. That means the breathing and some other signs of life. Only part of the child come out from the parturient canal. The fetus may breathe and show signs of life, or it may completely born and die. The cause of death such a child is regarded as homicide. In civil cases, any sign after life will be in civil cases can be taken as considered accepted as the proof of live birth. Example, hearing a cry or the movements of the limbs or the body movements and the muscle twitchings and some of the movements can be signs of life. In live birth, the signs of cry or the movements, the signs of cry can be heard by the bystanders beside the labor room or beside the outside the labor room or the doorsteps who are relatives stand at the outside the doorstep of the labor room. They will heard that the cry may be heard by them. So it is in civil cases only these are applicable, the cry of the child and the movements of the fetus. The cry will be seen only when the membrane is ruptured and air enters, and then only the child will be cry. The law presumes that every newborn child found dead was born dead until the contrary is proved. Every newborn child found dead is born dead. In criminal cases, signs of birth, live birth, have to be demonstrated by post-mortem examination only. Autopsy examination will reveal the signs of life. Internal examination provides strong evidence of life, whether the fetus is live birth or dead birth or stillbirth. Autopsy. You should open the fetus to examine the certain important features. Some important features together only determines whether the child live birth, dead birth, or stillbirth. Only single feature cannot determine the stage of the child. So on autopsy examination, you should first examine the shape of the chest. Without respiration, the child, before respiration, the chest is flat and its circumference is 1 to 2 centimeters less than the circumference of the abdomen at the level of the umbilicus. After respiration, the shape of the chest becomes arch or drum shaped. The position of the diaphragm, I will go fast. The position of the diaphragm is at the level of the 4th and 5th vertebra, 4th and 5th rib, and after respiration, it will be seen at the level of the 6th and 7th rib. And lungs, the breathing, if the child takes breath, permanent changes will be occurs in lung. So what are the changes in lungs? The volume of the lung will be changed, margins will be changed, consistency will be changed, and the color and expansion of the air vesicles will be changed. That means alveolar changes are very marked when the child takes breath during the after birth. So volume, the unrespired lungs are very smaller, and these do not fill the entire pleural cavity. If the respiration has taken place, the lungs fill the entire pleural cavity and overlaps the mediastinum margins medially, and also it covers the lateral margins of the chest pleural cavity. So margins and the edges are before respiration they are sharp, and they will become round. Even slight breath will be taken. Edges, margins are very sharp. After respiration, they will changes as rounded. The margins, the surface of the lung tissue may show furrows in respired lung. Glistening bullae may appear if the fetus struggle to breathe. What is the consistency? Before respiration, the lungs are dense, firm, and non-crepitant like liver. After respiration, they are soft, spongy, duffy, elastic, and crepitant. The lungs are so crepitant in putrefaction also, but this can be differentiated from putrefaction and whether the child taken breath or not. So, on color and expansion of the air vesicles, that means color changes in the air vesicles is very, very important after respiration has taken place. Before respiration, lungs are uniformly reddish brown, bluish, or deep violet according to the degree of anoxia. The surface of the lobules are marked with halo furrows. And after respiration, the air cells become distended with air, and these air cells slightly rise on the surface and gives a polygonal appearance, and it due to this raised surface of the alveolar cells, the lung surface looks like a mosaic appearance, and this after fully aerated, the lungs, the aerated blood change to light pink color, and it gives the mottled or marble appearance of the lung tissue. So prolonged breathing may lead to total expansion of the lung. On cut section of the lungs, the before respiration, the lungs exudes frothless blood. After respiration, very frothy blood-stained liquid comes from the aerated lung. So, what is the gas? If the air present due to respiration, part of the air will be expelled and will rise to the surface of the lung as a stream of minute drops. If it is not air, not due to breathing, but it is gas from inflation or artificial inflation or any putrefied gas, the bubbles on the surface, bubbles and blebs are appearing in the surface of the lung. But these blebs or bubbles moves from one place to another place. These bubbles, if they form due to putrefaction or artificial insufflation of the lung. But if the gas really entered through breathing, these appeared as a stream of minute dots which are permanent on the lung tissue. Blood in the lung beds. The amount of blood in the lungs after respiration is almost twice in the circulation, with the circulation, whether the child in the stillbirth. So, if the fetus or born child, if takes breathing, then the circulation in the lung field or the pulmonary circulation is very increases its volume. That means it is doubles the circulation of the stillbirth baby. Weight of the lungs should be measured by two methods. One is static test and other is Plockett's test. Static test or Fodder's test is normally unrespired lung is at the weight is 30 to 40 grams and respired lung is 60 to 66 grams. It is known as static test or Fodder's test. Next is Plockett's test. That means Plockett's test is if lung beds increased and aerated, this weight is doubled from 1/70th of the weight before respiration to 1/38th after respiration. Hello, 1 minute please. Hello. So this is known as Plockett's test. That means the weight of the respired lung almost doubles before respiration. That means 1/30th after respiration and 1/70th before respiration. And hydrostatic test. It is very important, and it will come as essay question or short note question or 4 marks question in your practical examination and as a viva question also. So it is very important. The hydrostatic test or Raygaard's test. That means hydrostatic test is before respiration, the lungs are like liver piece. That means they are non-crepitant and dense form. These, if you cut the lungs, both lungs at the hilar region, and take the lungs and cut into pieces at 12 or 20 pieces, and you put on the water, put in the bowl of water. These, if respiration taken place, these pieces will shrink. You can take the liver piece as a control. The liver piece will shrink. If breathing has not taken place, the lung pieces will shrink, and if breathing has taken place, the lung pieces will float. You can take the liver piece as a control. Then the piece will be taken and squeezes with your index finger and the thumb and expel the air present in the air cells and put on the bowl of water. Again the lung piece will float if respiration has taken place because of the volume of the air presence in the alveolar cells. And again the lung pieces squeezed with the instrument and your finger rolled on a stick and then squeezed completely and again put in the bowl of water. Then it floats. Then it definitely shows, it definitely indicates that the lungs are respired lungs, because the tidal volume present in the alveolar cells makes the lung pieces will move. This is the Raygaard's test or hydrostatic test. This hydrostatic test is positive if the lung is respired lung. The fallacies of hydrostatic, that means even though unrespired lungs, that means expanded lungs, that means respired lung also sink in case of diseases like acute edema, pneumonia, congenital syphilis, all those, and atelectasis of the lungs due to air not entering the lungs. And atelectasis means collapse of the lung, that means non-elastic movement, non-expansion of the alveolar cells. That means the expansion cell capacity will be loose by the alveolar cells. These atelectasis due to air not entering the lungs, fully not entered into the alveolar cells, or complete absorption of the entered lung by the lung tissue, or more air being expelled from the alveolar cells. Obstruction by an alveolar duct membrane. These are the causes of atelectasis. So these are the fallacies. That means expanded lung may be sink, and unexpanded lung, that means can be float from. Unexpanded lung, that means unrespired lung also may float. What are those fallacies? Putrefaction gas. If the lungs putrefy and the gas enters into the lungs, then these unrespired lung also may float. Artificial insufflation. If artificial air is inflated into the lungs, then the lung will float. But I told you in breathing air, the gas is streamlined dots, and in artificial insufflation, they are bubbles. They will move on the surface of the lungs. This is the difference. And hydrostatic test is not necessary when this test cannot be done or need not be done in case of if the fetus is monster. What is monster? Monster is very big, very large, or strange appearance of the fetus, very large, strange, or any some frightening appearance of the baby and died. The fetus is macerated or mummified. If the fetus is macerated, you need not do the hydrostatic test. If the fetus born before 180 days of gestation, you need not do hydrostatic. The stomach contains milk, you need not do. And the umbilical cord is separated, ligated scar is seen. The scar, ligated scar is seen. Then you need not do the hydrostatic test. Signs of the struggle to breathe. What are the signs when the fetus struggle during the breath? These struggle to breathe are in stillborn or died after shortly after delivery. What are these changes seen in the lungs? Dark fluid bed will be seen in lungs which are struggled to breathe. These are due to humo concentration, due to raised carbon dioxide, and these are called as pseudoclots. And these lungs will be cyanosed, and obstructive emphysema may be seen, edema or with or without air or liquor. Tardu spots may be seen, and liver swelling due to congestion of the bowel lobule and distension of the large bowel, ascites, retroperitoneal edema. These are all the signs of struggle to breathe. Respiration before and during birth. Respiration can be taken by the child before and during birth. That means the respiration has taken by the fetus within the uterus itself. If the rupture of the membranes occurs, if the fetus is within the uterine itself, it is called as vegetus uterinus. If during the process of delivery, the head comes into the vaginal cavity, the respiration has taken place, then is known as vegetus vaginalis. And also respiration has taken place while head is protruding from the outlet. Microscopic examination of the lungs. It is somewhat very important. That means at 4 months of pregnancy, if you do the microscopic examination of the alveolar cells, at 4 months of pregnancy, parenchyma of the lung, he has a gland-like structure with a cuboidal or columnar epithelium lining, cell lining. After 5 months, air sacs contains amniotic fluid. At full term, normal fetal lung is almost completely atelectasis. After full term, normal complete full term lung will be normal lung will be seen. Normal fetal lung is atelectatic. The struggle to breathe results in incomplete lung expansion, hypoxia, cyanosis, petechial hemorrhages, and edema of the mediastinum. Those changes in the stomach. What are the other changes of live birth? Changes in the stomach and intestine. If respiration has taken place while during taking the respiration, some air may enter into the stomach and and intestines and removed after some time. This presence of air in the stomach and intestines is known as Breslau's second life test or stomach bowel test. Breslau's second life test or stomach bowel test. First life test is hydrostatic test. And second life test is Breslau's second life test is stomach bowel test. Presence of air in the stomach and intestines. And changes in the middle ear. It is also one of the change. What is the change in the middle ear? If respiration has not taken place, the middle ear contains the embryonic gelatinous connective tissue. If respiration has taken place, the embryonic connective tissue, gelatinous connective tissue replaced by the air. And if you put the middle ear and cut the middle ear in the bowl of water, the air displaces the water from the Ekman temple. This is the Redin's test. And live birth is probable when all the lobes of the lungs are fully expanded and there is edema of the lungs and alveolar duct membrane is present and pulmonary atelectasis is seen and contusion of the lungs are present. If the respiration has taken place, then you can be tell the child is live born. Stillbirth is probable in the presence of maceration and flooding of the lungs and Laika rhamniae and the desquamation of the bronchial epithelium, and distension of the large bowel. These are the possibilities. Changes in the child after birth, some changes will be seen. That means one is blood. Blood, that means fetal blood, RBC, or nucleated. These nucleated blood cells disappear after 24 hours. You all know. And fetal hemoglobin, all the fetal 80% of the fetal hemoglobin decreases by 7 to 8% after third month. These are the changes in the live born child. And meconium. Meconium is short notes for you. This is the green viscid substance consisting of thickened bile and mucus. And this meconium is completely excreted from the large intestine within first 24 to 48 hours. This meconium is brownish green and stiffen on the cloth. When it is passed on the cloth, it will be stiffen the cloth. The reaction of the meconium is acidic. So caput succedaneum. These are all the signs of the other signs of the live birth. Caput succedaneum. This is an area of soft swelling that forms on the scalp or the presenting part of the head in vertex presentation. So this is soft swelling. This caput is swollen 3 to 4 times of the presenting part of the scalp bone. That means this skull bone, the soft tissue will be swollen 3 to 4 times. So this is the localized swelling due to congestion and edema due to interference of the venous return produced with the pressure of the cervical ring and the pressure between the cervical ring and the presenting part of the fetal head. So this is most commonly caput occurs asymmetrically over the crown of the head. In breech presentation, similar swellings occur over the buttocks and scrotum and labia. The caput succedaneum gradually diminishes within 2 to 4 days after birth. Next change is cephalhematoma. This cephalhematoma is localized accumulation of blood deep to the scalp between the periosteum and the bone surface. This local accumulation of blood is confined to or limited to a certain bone, that is only single bone. That means it most commonly on the right parietal bone. This will not cross the suture line. That means it is mostly confined to the single bone only. That means on the right parietal bone, between the periosteum and the bone surface, the accumulation will be seen. This accumulation is due to tearing of the diploic veins. Skin. The first skin, at first the skin is bright red and which becomes darker on second and third day, and then brick red, yellow and normal within about a week. Vernix caseosa is short notes for you, and vernix caseosa covers the skin at axilla and the folds of the neck and the inguinal regions and folds of the buttocks, and they persist for 1 or 2 days. This vernix caseosa contains sebaceous cells and mucous epithelial cells. This is a rigid substance. And air in the gastrointestinal tract. The air moves along the gastrointestinal tract and which reaches the stomach after 15 minutes, and then small intestine 2 hours, colon 5 to 6 hours, and rectum after 12 hours. The respired air moves according to the time. First 15 minutes at stomach and intestine, small intestine 2 hours, colon 5 to 6 hours, and rectum after 12 hours. Umbilical cord. The changes of umbilical cord is very, very important, and it may be a short notes or viva questions. The umbilical cord, the blood clots in the curtain 2 hours after birth, and vessels begin to close in about 24 hours. The cord attached to the child shrinks and dries in 12 to 24 hours, and inflammatory ring forms at its base in 36 to 48 hours, and mummifies in second and third day, and cord falls off on 5th or 6th day, and there will be a scar in 10 to 12 days. The placenta is found with the body, it should be examined. That means the attachment of the cord and the length of the cord should be measured while examining the placenta. Circulation. The blood circulation from the umbilical cord, the umbilical arteries starts, the contraction of the umbilical cords starts in 10 hours and completely goes by 3rd day. Umbilical vein and ductus venosus closed on 4th day, and the ductus arteriosus closed by 10th day, and foramen ovale by 2nd or 3rd one. These changes should be asked as viva questions. Causes of death. What are the causes of death? Natural cause, immaturity. The cause of death of infant are number natural causes and accidental causes. Natural causes are immaturity, debility due to lack of general development, congenital diseases like syphilis, fevers, smallpox, plague, etc., etc. Disease of the child's internal organs such as lungs, heart, brain, etc. Malformation. These are the natural causes. Hemorrhages, post-maturity, pre-eclamptic toxemias of the pregnancy, and eclampsia. All those are the natural causes of death. Placenta previa. That means placental disorders, that abruptio placenta, placenta previa, all those are the placental causes. Neonatal infections, intrapartum and antepartum anoxia, cerebral birth trauma, and RH incompatibility. Unnatural causes, those are accidental and criminal. Those, what are the accidental causes? During birth, prolonged labor due to cephalopelvic disproportion or contracted pelvis, and prolapse of the cord or pressure on the cord. That means cord collapse. This cord may be compressed during delivery and they may produce asphyxia. And twisting cord around the neck. Delivery, if delivery by cord around the neck, the cord may act as ligature material and the strangulation may cause death of the fetus. And injuries to the mother due to kicks and blows of the mother's abdomen. Death of the mother. If the death of the mother during full term of pregnancy, the child can be lived within 5 to 10 minutes if the delivery has taken place after the death of the after mother's death. If delivery has induced by either cesarean section, then within 5 to 10 minutes the fetal survivance may possible. After birth, the causes of death are suffocation and anoxia, hypoxia, and respiratory labor. This is this may comes as a short notes. What is the respiratory labor? The delivery period. That means the 3 stages merge, and the duration of the delivery is reduced to very short period, either in primipara or multipara. In primipara, it is almost impossible, and due to roomy vagina in multipara, the respiratory labor is very, very common. Even the pregnant mother may not notice that she is delivering. This may possible when she is going to lavatory. The fetus may fall in the lavatory pan, and due to injuries, the fetus may die. This is the respiratory labor. Hemorrhage of the from a torn end of the cord. That means if delivery is unexpected or without notice of the mother, the cord may torn from the baby's end, and hemorrhage may occur and baby may dies. What is the medical legal importance of the infanticide? The mother and the relatives should be accused of killing the infant, and in case of murder, death of the child may be attributed to respiratory labor. Criminal causes. What are the criminal causes of infant death of the fetus? The acts of commission and acts of omission are the causes. Acts of commission means doing some acts to kill the baby intentionally. That means covering the baby's nostrils or mouth by pillow, or keeping the baby, not giving the nutrition or not lactation, intentionally doing the acts to kill the infant. And the acts of omission. Acts of omission are what are the things the mother should do. She will not do the baby. That means she will not lactate, she will not feed the baby, or she will not show care and affection towards the child, and the fetus may die. So what are the acts of commission? Are injuries and suffocation, strangulation, and drowning, burning, blood head injury. These are all the fractures, wounds. Acts of commission are neglect. Women are failure to provide proper assistance during labor, failure to tie the cord, and failure to clear the air passages, failure to protect the child from the exposure to heat or cold, failure to supply the child with proper food. The abandoning of infants. That means if the father or mother of the child under the age of 12 years or anyone having the care of such child leaves such child in any place with the intention of abandoning the child. That means వదిలించేసుకోవడం బిడ్డని ఎక్కడైనా వదిలేస్తారు ఆ పిల్లని చైల్డ్ ని ఎక్కడైనా వదిలేసి వచ్చేస్తారు. దిస్ ఈస్ crime and shall be punished with the imprisonment up to 7 years. If the child is abandoned, the female child is abandoned, then the imprisonment is rigorous imprisonment up to 10 years and maybe fine up to 1 lakh rupees under section 317 IPC. Concealment of birth. Some widows and illegal deliveries may conceive or buries the child after killing the fetus. They will bury or dispose of the dead body in a koputotla padasaru, found the child in a koputotla. These are comes under crime and they shall be punished with imprisonment up to 2 years. If that child is a female child, this will be rigorous punishment and fine up to 1,000 rupees and extended life imprisonment or 5 years imprisonment. Child abuse. Alcoholic and drug addicted parents are more likely to abuse, neglect their children. Battered baby syndrome. This is very important question to you. Battered baby. It is also known as child abuse syndrome, Kefis syndrome, and maltreatment syndrome, non-accidental injury of childhood. The battered child is one who is received repetitive physical injuries as a result of non-accidental violence produced by parent or guardian. These are physical injuries. There may be a intentional deprivation of nutrition, care, and affection. These classical features are age at an age of less than 3 years old, usually less than 3 years old. Sex rightly more in females, 55 to 63% of male patients. Position in family. One child of family, commonly the eldest or youngest, and often unwanted childs. Mostly the battered childs are due to step parents. Illegitimate child or offered these injuries by parents. So socio-economic factors are parents are between the age of 20 to 30 and they may be very low social group and they may be suffering with mental illness or any other disorders or any other stress or any other IQ, low level of IQs. They will batter their child. The family is usually isolated. History of family history and the history of the injuries. That means the obvious difference between the nature of the injuries and the explanation given by the parents is entirely different. Treatment. There is always delay between the injury and the medical attention by the parents. They will not treat the child because they themselves produced these injuries. So precipitating factors are violence of the child. If slight mischief done by the child, they will beat the child. Or the parents wants to stop the cry, the child continuously crying, they will beat the child. What are the injuries? There are so many injuries. There are surface injuries, soft tissue injuries. That means they will pick the babies and nail injuries. All this on head, the face, neck. And bruises, abrasions will be seen, and multiple bruises are seen. And Kefis syndrome. Kefi described in 1974. That means shake up the child. Shaking. They will shake the child and compress the child. Both hands at the anteroposterior compression of the chest. Shaking is very common. Due to this shaking, the subdural hematoma may be produced. This is known as infantile whiplash syndrome. Infantile whiplash syndrome is due to the shaking of the child by the parents and produced subdural hematoma. And bite marks may be seen on the cheeks, shoulders, chest, buttocks, and there will be a due to compression, anterolateral compression of the child by the parents' hands, there will be a fractures of the posterior angles of the ribs, and these fractures after 1 week or 2 weeks, callus may be formed. These callus are seen as a string of beads. This is called as knobbing fractures of the ribs. So eye changes are retinal injuries and congenital hemorrhage, maybe black eye may be seen. Visceral injuries are subdural hemorrhage and viscera should be perforations in the visceral organs, may be seen. Intestine and urinary bladder may be perforated. Burns, they will be inflicted injuries, cigarette ends upon the skin. Skeletal injuries, I told you, knobbing fractures. And diagnosis, what is the how to diagnose, nature of injuries and the time taken to seek medical advice and recent injuries. This can be that means nature of injuries. What are the repetitive injuries on the same space? These are non-accidental injuries. And time taken, the injuries, the age of the injuries and the medical attention is so much difference. And recurrent injury, repetitive injuries can be diagnosed. Differential diagnosis, rickets and scurvy, congenital syphilis can be differentiated. Munchausen syndromes. Munchausen syndrome is feigning illness or injury and going from hospital to hospital for unnecessary investigations. That means feigning injury or illness. Acting అంటే ఏ జబ్బు లేకపోయినా సరే ఏదో జబ్బు ఉన్నట్టు హాస్పిటల్ తిరిగి ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ చేయించుకుంటారు. This is Munchausen syndrome. And another is Munchausen syndrome by proxy. This means the actions of one person who inflicts harm against another person. That means infant and child. అంటే పేషెంట్ పేరెంట్ వాళ్ళ బిడ్డకు బాగోలేదని హాస్పిటల్ టు హాస్పిటల్ తిప్పుతూ ఉంటారు. అది ఫీల్డ్ and alleged illness. There is no actual illness, but to attain sympathy or attention of parents or in-laws or any other relatives, the parent or mother or father may brought to the child to the hospital and get investigated by the doctor for unnecessary procedures. This is the Munchausen syndrome of proxy. This methods of simulating production of illnesses. The mother may prick her finger and the blood may add into the water, urine of the child, and she will comply the hematuria. And the child's nose is closed with 2 fingers and jaw is pushed up and a pillow or a towel is put over the face. And these are the how the mother inflicts the injuries on the child. Sudden infant death syndrome. It is important short notes for you. Sudden infant death syndrome, also called as cot death or crib death, which is defined as the sudden and unexpected death of a seemingly healthy infant. That means a healthy infant after going to bed, the child will be died, which is unexplained. The cause is unexplained after thorough investigation. This is called as cot death, crib death, or sudden infant death syndromes. SIDS, SIDS. Incidence is 0.6 per 1,000 live births and age 2 to 2 years, but most peak is 2 to 4 months. And sex, there is slight increase in males, and twins, there is increased risk in 3-fold increase in twin pregnancy because of the poor development of the one of the twins. The geographical distribution is worldwide. Time of death always occurs during sleep at the all times, and prematurity has higher risk. Socio-economic standard of the family is also one of the cause. Cigarette smoking and drug abuse, child may be mothers or fathers may be one of the causes. Cot deaths are major cause of death in infants in the first 6 months of life. Autopsy. What are the autopsy features in sudden infant death syndrome? There are so many pathological conditions such as pneumonia, congenital heart disease, Down syndrome, tracheobronchitis or bronchiolitis are the constant findings. About multiple critical hemorrhages on the visceral surface of the heart, lungs and thymus, 70 to 70% which are agonal in nature. Blood-stained fluid at the mouth and the nose is present, and small amount of milky vomit. That means one of the sudden death of the infant is aspiration of the milk. So presence of milk in the trachea or bronchus, because the mother padukuni paal ichesi padukoni potundi. So the baby will aspirate the milk and the baby will die. The most common cause, these the bronchiolitis or bronchopneumonia due to the aspiration pneumonitis. This is the sudden infant death syndrome. What are the various theories have been advanced to put the cause of death, but all the causes combine and act via common pathway, that is cardiorespiratory arrest. I told you all the causes: bronchopneumonitis, congenital heart disease, all those causes, aspiration pneumonia, all those bronchiolitis, bronchitis, all those causes combine and act via common pathway. That is cardiorespiratory failure, and the sudden death of the infant will occur. Sleep apnea. Other causes of death are neuronal degeneration, immunoreactivity, and severe hypoplasia, medullary arcuate nucleus, and myocarditis, conduction system anomalies, and mechanical upper airway obstruction, adrenal insufficiency, gastroesophageal reflux leading to bradycardia, hypersensitivity to cow milk, botulism, deficiency of parathyroid, selenium, etc. Antibodies, calcium, vitamin D, EV, all those deficiencies, house mite allergic anaphylaxis, and sodium overload in feeds. During feeding the baby, if the sodium quantity is high, then hypernatremia, and the child will die. Hypothermia are also the causes. So with this, we finish the infant deaths, and we will give you assessment in this chapter, and we will give the assessment examination on sexual offences and abortion this week. We will give the assessment examination on sexual offences and abortion. Both chapters, questions from the both chapters will come as assessment examination in this week. And next week we will give you this questions from infant deaths. So okay, boys and children, students, all the best, and stay home, stay safe. All the best. We'll meet you. Hope we'll meet you in classroom within a short period of time by the grace of God. Thank you for hearing.